I think really hard, on a hard way. And I think not all the companies are already knowing that this is a thing that will change the way of work
Mm-hmm.
for like the upcoming 12, 24 months, I think.
Okay.
When I think about like the Copilot is now out of 20 months. So then we're talking about M365 Copilot and we're talking about personal productivity, right? So it's all your applications that you have and you can use Copilot there.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the beginning people were like skeptics because they had more idea that they can do more with
Mm-hmm.
it sometimes, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
defining their scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
I think now when we are 20 months further, it's like crazy to see what you already can do with your work environment, your personal productivity, and Copilot.
Hi, everybody. Those who are watching and listening, welcome back to my channel, Experiences with Anish. It's been quite a long time since I'm back with my podcast. I think it was probably a month ago that I've recently released another podcast. But again, after a month, due to a lot of other work, I couldn't, keep along a lot of this podcast coming. So I think after 1 month, again, I'm back with a new guest. I would say this is going to be sort of very special because I think it's been nearly a month or so since I got my hands dirty on Copilot and Microsoft AI environment. So before that, I was like more into this N8 and like those other AI agentic platforms. I was not more into Microsoft and Copilot, but I think it's been just since 1 month, and that is how I got connected with Femke. Like I was like I knew that she's a Microsoft MVP, so we're gonna talk a lot about MVP and all those things. So I just thought immediately, after like I think I've been following her for a month now. I've been looking at all your
I
content.
thought so long, much longer.
I was like
Oh,
looking at your content and I knew that okay, I thought like maybe why not I give it a try and invite you for my guest. Like I was actually a bit skeptical before I invite you because I was thinking you were like after looking at your work I knew that you have around like 20,000 followers and like you have a lot of things going on your plate. So I thought like am I gonna get your date to actually come up on my podcast? So finally I just
here we are.
yeah, so I just sent you a text and very happy that you've accepted. So first of all, thank you so much for accepting the invitation and being on my show. So how do you feel, Sumka?
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here on your show. Love to work together, and it's really nice. Thanks, kudos for you to
Yeah.
having this podcast. It's not always easy to do that, so good that you're
Yeah.
doing this and let other people speak. I think is really important.
Exactly, totally, totally. And again, like it's going to be completely a new perspective in my channel, is what I would say. Because so far, of course, like we've talked about a lot of low code, no code, like automation, agentic, like all sort of those things. But again, we haven't sort of delved into this Microsoft environment. But at the end of the day, we do know that when ChatGPT came into picture, along the way, we also know Microsoft came because they were like strategic partners from the very beginning. And still,
True.
I didn't get a lot of chance, I would say, to get my hands on with Copilot. But now that I've completely into Copilot, Copilot Studio, like you name it, like there is a lot of stuff, right? So we're going to be talking a lot about it. So if I'm,
And how's your experience,
I would
first of all?
say, so firstly, I would say after I've started working with few clients, right? I knew from them, like after completing the project and after delivering the project, that is when I knew that there's a lot of demand for businesses to implement Copilot and agentic platforms right inside Microsoft. Because even today we know that majority, like nobody can deny this, majority of the businesses use workspace in Microsoft. Like their environment completely is surrounded by Microsoft. So they are like already like sort of they have this habit, I would say, to use Microsoft entirely. But now having this
Yeah.
agentic capabilities, Copilot and all those things, right inside Microsoft is like sort of an added advantage. They don't have to worry about connecting to a lot of external tools and all those things, right? So that is when I specifically knew that okay, there's a lot of demand for Copilot and like an entire Copilot system is what I would say, and that's how I started getting into it. But first thing I would say, like I really love all my experience, but one worst experience which I had was that it literally took me more than 2 to 3 weeks to exactly figure out the pricing strategies for Copilot Studio,
Oh, really?
how to get started with Copilot Studio. I mean, like I was thinking like how to even get started. Like I've tried a lot, and then finally somehow I just cracked. And to I mean, like you wouldn't believe me, but to be honest, to understand this entire Copilot, sort of situations, right? I moved my entire workspace to Microsoft. So my current workspace, be it, Teams, like Teams meeting, like, Outlook, Mail, like my entire workspace is now lives on Microsoft. I've connected my domain and everything. So to understand like the exact,
Mm.
hands-on thing, how it works. So, but I would say on the whole, it's
Yeah,
been great experience.
but what you say, it's a lot, right? Where do you need to start? All the kind of applications
I
that
mean,
I think,
it's
and
a
not even
hell
that.
lot.
With Yeah, we're talking about Microsoft 365, but as well, if you're thinking about Copilots and all the Copilot tools that are there, it's almost 200, I heard,
Very
different kind of Copilots. So about what kind of Copilot are we talking about?
I mean, like, I
So
think
it's,
we would literally require a lot of session just to make them understand what products are even present in Copilot and how to get access to it. Because there's a hell lot
yeah,
of stuff, I would say.
yeah, and I I think like the market right now is as well that people saying, oh, this is new, this is new, this is new, this is new, and then people thinking, okay, do I need to have a licenses for this? Where can I find it? Oh, you need Teams Premium to have to this
Exactly.
as
That
well.
that's what, like, I would say I've
So it's
had
a lot.
bad experience
Yeah.
finding that, but again, once I found it, like once I understood like all the nuances out of it,
Mm.
uh, I'm like completely satisfied that like Copilot is like really good,
But
I would say.
you, yeah, but you are like an experience. You are an IT tech minded person. There are also people who just not really be tech minded, I think.
Mm.
So it's hard to find that as well. And
I
that's what I really love to do is try to, okay, how can we make all that
mm.
lots of stuff, make it really easy in like cheat sheets or an ebook that you can
Yeah.
write it on an easy
Understood. I
way.
mean,
Yeah.
I think that is why like I love a lot of creators, I would say, because creators being like, of course, they earn a lot in terms of brand partnership, like all those things. That's their outcome. But the core thing is they're trying to solve something, like they're trying to help out people. Like you take Copilot in as an example, like as you mentioned, like I think now you've released your ebook recently, right? So you have a detailed
Yes.
guide because I would say when it comes to onboarding a customer, the actual product owner, like the company itself, doesn't do a very good job, I would say. Like even in Microsoft, you would say, Microsoft, if you just take like, I haven't found a very detailed guide exactly like how to get access to Copilot, like how to get access to Copilot Studio, like what is the pricing. They have a hell lot of, because I mean, like we know Microsoft is a giant company. They have a lot of
Sure.
complex pricing structures, right? So they just talk to you about the pricing structure, but it's like sort of very confusing. But I don't want to know all those things. Me as a business owner, how can I use Copilot right inside my environment? That's the only thing that I require. And in order for me to do that, I need to get a structured information, and that is where creators like you all come into picture. You share your ebooks, be it blogs, YouTube, podcasts. We can go on and on and on, right? I think that's like very helpful.
Yeah. I think it's really important, and I think Microsoft's doing as well a really great job. But it's always like a marketing
Exactly.
story, right? And the
Exactly.
creators that are working around these Microsoft products and can say what they want to say. I think that's really important. I can say about the products, I can cheer it up, but I also can say this is what I don't like. So it's real talk, I think, real human,
Mm-mm-mm.
real saying this is what works well, this is what not
Exactly.
working well. And I can also give it back to Microsoft and say, okay, you need to work on this because I
Mm-mm-mm.
get a lot of attention in the market around this. This story really needs to be different than
Very
how
true.
it's up now. Yeah.
Very true. Very
So
true.
it's a really nice play field to be in. But sometimes as well, like it's a lot. Like every day,
A
new
lot.
things coming out. And as well, I think when you are a creator, you have people who have always like opinions as well. Like
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
they like that, they don't like
Exactly.
that. This is really
Exactly.
good.
There's a lot going on, I would say. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's nice.
it's
Yeah.
nice. It's nice. So I think, with that, we'll just get started. Like we'll dive deep into the Copilot, which is the actual, core agenda of the podcast itself, I would say. So like I have a
Yes.
few set of questions that I've, sort of mapped up just, get this conversation going. Okay. So on
Good.
an just to get started, like in an like on a macro level, like how do you think Copilot is sort of impacting businesses who are actually using it? Okay, then we'll dive deep into the
Mhm.
models and all those things. But on the whole, like this Copilot thing, right? Because we hear Copilot a lot. So like, how do you think on a macro level, like how is it actually impacting businesses, be it small, medium, or even enterprise level?
you can use Copilot there.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the beginning people were like skeptics because they had more idea that they can do more with
Mm-hmm.
it sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
defining their scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
I think now when we are 20 months further, it's like crazy to see what you already can do with your work environment, your personal productivity, and Copilot. But the next step that we are already in it now is the agents part. So you're talking not only about personal productivity, but you're really talking about process automation and
Mm-hmm.
process productivity as well.
Exactly.
So your organization, your teams, your way of working, that need to be restructured. And
Mm-hmm.
I think this is as well for SMC enterprise. A lot of organizations, they need to think about from a leadership perspective what this is mean for them. So I think the personal productivity is maybe an easy way of thinking about what are my scenarios, how do I work, how can I work it on my day-to-day life
Mm-hmm.
when I want to use it. But when we're talking about the automation part and we're talking about processes and what kind of processes are the most important to automate or put an AI on it, I think that's a whole new structure that needs to be made by a lot of companies thinking about the way of working with what kind of persons and what kind of
Mm-hmm.
agents they're going to work with. So, um, what I believe in is that you need to think about from top to down,
Okay.
thinking about strategy. What is the strategy of the organization? Where do we want to go? And what kind of things can we solve with AI? And what are our biggest processes that we can look at?
Mm-hmm.
And you see a lot of things that um, personal productivity can do, and as well when you're talking about the processes, what kind of things are we solving there? Is it, for example, like customer satisfaction, or is it that we want to more employee experience,
Mm-hmm.
all kind of things, or the cost? uh, that's always what we really want to know more about. How can we do the same with a less cost? Now, all kind of things. But what is the thing that we want to achieve with this Copilot or with this kind of agents?
Okay.
And the other thing that we're also seeing is not only that, is people don't know what they really can do
Do
with
yeah.
it. I heard yourself as well that you say, I'm trying to figure out the cost and all the things. So we need examples in the world,
Very true. Very true.
what they already did or what people are doing at the moment. And that's as well really scary in a little bit in an AI world, right?
Yeah.
That
So true.
organizations stepping out and saying, this is what we do with AI. So it's an interesting
Mm-hmm.
time, and I think everyone is in it. But I really believe that we are in like 12 months or 24 months, everyone has their agents
Mm-hmm.
in place.
Okay, so it is like,
The truth.
yeah, so I mean, like, to get started, it is like more of an cultural come structural change, right? Like that is how,
True.
people have to think about and slowly, like, again, like there are two ways which we can think about, like, as you mentioned, one is going to be the personal productivity itself, which is and each employee output, like how are you going to measure, like how Copilot can be, sort of an catalyst for boosting your personal productivity, which is directly going
True.
to impact your outcome of the product which you're building, right? And number two, as you mentioned,
Yes.
the repetitive process itself, the process, the workflows which are already being built. So I mean that is
Yeah.
another great place to get started.
True. And I think a lot of people are just finding out by themselves in the organization. Oh, and let's build my own agents.
Mm-mm-mm.
For example, like on SharePoint or Copilot Studio. But and I support that, of course, that everyone is finding out by themselves. But as well, I think it's really something that needs to be on table from leadership and the change that
Mm-mm-mm.
you want to have in your organization.
Understood.
Uh, and that's a thing that's not always happening. And I think that's as well when we talk about in the beginning, the marketing side from as well.
Yeah,
Microsoft is saying, this is new, you can do this. And people are, yay, I'm going to figure it out and I can do this and this and this. But in the end, the organization have no idea what's happening in their
very,
organizations.
very true. I mean, like so having I follow like few persons, like after I've got my business in this, AI agent space and all those things, like I follow a lot of people to understand like actual, like is it just we, randomly create some agents and think that, we're gonna get a lot of results, right? But like there are few processes that I think, current world, it's more of an augmentation rather than an entire agent itself. Like augmentation as a, like, you have your current workflow processes. What you've got to do is like you've got to try to put this AI into your current workflows or automation and see like how it can help you. It's not that you're trying to completely give off everything to AI agent and thinking that everything is going to
No,
be in place. So it's like more of an augmentation, and that is where, like as you mentioned, leadership they have to think about their exact processes, and then they have to understand like where is this going to take you if you are now implementing AI agent into it, or like AI
yeah,
into it.
true. Yeah, true. And as well, if you're thinking about, and I saw that, for example, with the personal productivity way as well,
Mm-mm-mm.
people thinking about, okay, we have now, like, we save time, like 2 hours a day. For example, I saw some companies who had that with using, for example, Copilot. It's really nice and kudos. But what are you going to do with that in the end,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Uh, so are you going to do more work, or are you
Mm-mm.
going to drink more coffee, or what is the thing that we're actually going to do with that?
True.
So as well with building your co-pilots or your agents, what is the ROI, and how can we, from strategy side, but as well from like, do people enjoying it? Is it helping them really? What are new things that we can put as well? All the new things that coming out every like day, is it involved in it?
Mm-mm.
And one thing I really like to mention as well is, for example, you have like your agents and you put it on, for example, SharePoint.
Okay.
The first step that a lot of people are doing is your agent on SharePoint. And you can say, this is my agent, and I share it with my team, for
Mm-mm.
example.
Mm-mm.
And then you say, okay, you can have this SharePoint and this SharePoint and this SharePoint. All this kind of data you can use. What happens? People from the other SharePoint sites deleting some data. So the agent doesn't have that data anymore.
Mm.
So it doesn't work anymore. And I think that's as well the next step that we all need to think about. It's really easy to use it. It's really easy to make it by yourself. But we're going to have the same problem that we have when we put it on SharePoint, and you have like different kind of versions
True.
from your server. Say this is version 1, version 2, version 3, and now we put everything on SharePoint. Good luck. The same is going to happen with this, right?
Yeah, I mean that's again like, so I mean it is, I would say there are like two core things. So one being the implementation, the other being the sort of this training and everything as well, like how to get started. Now to add on to the previous talk that you've talked about, like what is the ROI, right? Like to get to extend
Mm.
on that question, like I think as far as I know, like we can dive deep into like Copilot, like a lot of those things. Okay, like we have Copilot Studio, we have Copilot, and then we have Azure AI Foundry to deploy your models and all those things.
Yes.
But just to get started, like for a business, we know Copilot, like Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat, I think which comes around $30 per user per month. Okay,
Sure.
so now,
There it is.
yeah,
You found it.
yeah, exactly. Now, do you think this cost is sort of justified? Let's say you take, a medium to enterprise businesses. Okay, let's say they are buying, maybe 100 to 200 license as an example. I'm just giving you an example, random numbers. Okay, so $30 per user per month. Of course, I know the advantages of it. Like it's tightly integrated with your Microsoft environment. I can just get into, my Outlook and tell me, hey, like what are the important
Yeah.
meetings they have today? Like, is there any important mail that I have to check upon? Like I can do a lot of those things, right? So now having all these capabilities, and now having $30 per user per month, let's say they are like $500 500 people company, like is it, the cost in which they are putting in, they're buying the license, right? Is it actually justifiable?
I think that's really interesting. I think everyone has a different opinion about it. Some of
Mm-hmm.
them want more revenue with the things that they do because they can help more customers in that same time. So
Mm-hmm.
there's back again, what is the goal, and what do we want to achieve with what kind of persons we're working with Copilot? So I think you need to think in front of what kind of scenarios you have and what kind of personas are there and how they're going to use it, and help them actually use it. Because if you don't have any adoption, no one really understands what they need to do and where everything is. And if you really understand, this is what I can do for my role, and this is what is really helps it. It's like cost you like 12 weeks or 50 weeks to have that habit in your
Mm-hmm.
way of working and totally understand how you need to work. It's not like putting on and finding out. You really need to change your way of working. It's like, that's one thing. But the other thing is, like, for example, what I do, I use, for example, like Outlook,
Okay.
and I have lots of emails, and I talk to Outlook with my dictation button. It's not Copilot,
Mm-hmm.
it's just dictation.
Mm-hmm.
Then I put Copilot on it. With everything that I talk to, I put Copilot button on it, and it's rewriting my email. So it sees everything that I already had in that email as responses, the whole conversation, and what I added in as well. For me, I think $30 a month, it's more than worth it because it
Mm-hmm.
saves me so many time. I'm more confident. It's sometimes in a different kind of language. Like for me, if someone says, "Okay, I put your Copilot license away," I would say I pay it myself because this helped me a lot in growing, working faster. For example, if I need to say something to leadership Microsoft, I put that in it, and I really want to do it well. And this is really important. I really need to be professional, and I really want to achieve this. $30. It's, yeah, no one talks about it because it's so important for me in
Mm-hmm.
my development, I think, as well, but as well in my way of working. And so I think everyone
Okay.
has something.
Mm-hmm.
I believe everyone has something in it where they say, okay, this is my magic. I hope you have a lot of things that you say, okay, this is what really helps me in my way of working. But I believe as well that everyone has something that is so good.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, if I can go more in
Yeah,
things that
sure,
I
sure.
like, the
Please,
other thing
please.
is, for example, like I have meetings and I use for that. Oh, I have meetings. Everyone has meetings. A lot of meetings. Too much meetings, probably.
Yeah,
um,
I get that.
but yeah, for example, what I do there is like, of course, facilitator agent. I put it on, and it's going to work for me. But it's not everything. What I do afterwards is that I also use it in all my documentation. So if I need to have like a sales opportunity
Mm-hmm.
and I'm talking with a customer, of course I ask if I can use Copilot. I put Copilot on, I have the notes. But what I do is, for example, I make an email and I say, I just want to convince this customer of what we talked about. Please, can you give me the next steps? And I want to focus on this, this, and this. And this is what I really want back from that customer, like the site designator, something like
Mm-hmm.
that. What I put in is Swift, and I put the transcript from that meeting that I already have from that customer.
Okay.
So that's one.
Mm-hmm.
That's an email, but
Mm-hmm.
I can use it as well for my like order that I want to make. I can
Mm-hmm.
put it in my system.
Mm-hmm.
I can put it on my PowerPoint because we talked why it's so important that they and why they want to start, for example, with Copilot. So it's the whole meeting. I think that's gold. Like all the information that you get there from that kind of personas that you have a meeting as is literally gold information.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, you go into talk and you think, okay, I need to next steps, and I say thank you to an email, and this is what I need. But now you have like so much more information if you use it well.
Correct.
One of the things what people don't really use well
Nope.
is they have a meeting and they say, I want to have a summary of this meeting.
Okay.
What you get is a little bit of information. What Copilot thinks is the best way to get out of a meeting. But there is so much more information that
Always.
you talked about. So we as a human need to think about what is the best. Where do I want to make my content? Is it on PowerPoint, on the email, in the documents? What is my purpose? And get all that kind of information from that meeting out of it, what you really wanted. and not summarize and then go to next steps.
Mm-mm-mm.
So we need to learn to think about what are your next steps and take that in your first step with your customer.
I
So
mean,
that you have the right questions and right answers to get to the right results and give them the right information back.
understood. Understood. I mean, like, so you're like, I mean, you're trying to tell me like, how are you using? So you're like trying to justify this $30. Like, how well are you using it? Like, I can like totally understand. Like, as you mentioned, you use one in your Outlook, so which helps you with this email. The other part, it helps you with your meeting transcription because as we now know that before we'd have to literally, I think, meeting itself is going to be for an hour, as an example. But then you would have to sit manually for another an hour to exactly analyze what you've actually done. That is a headache for you, and that is like completely getting solved. And then, as you mentioned, it can be put into a slide, and you can easily create a proposal from the transcript into your Microsoft PowerPoint. So, like, we can just go on and on. Like from there, you can put it into any other system. You can just send out the mail. Okay. Uh,
Not only that, I can create a blog post around it as well.
exactly.
Not talking about that scope, not talking about that customer, but
Mm-mm.
about the problems that they have.
Exactly.
So it's really interesting to think about that kind of way. And if you're thinking back about what is the ROI, it's really hard to measure the ROI. But for me, I know that I can use it by this kind of ways. It's the ROI is
Mm-mm.
what a word is, right?
Okay.
So I think for everyone, I'm a content creator. So for me, it's like hearing customers and getting the feedback and creating new things with every podcast that I make or with every Teams call that I have. That's for me something that I can make new content as well. Or
Mm-mm.
having a conversation with the customer around what's happening or with the product teams. So I think everyone has that in their way of working. Where that little bit gold is, that you don't know yet where it is,
Exactly.
but can bring it out. Yeah.
Exactly. And like, so did you have any experience, working with businesses? Is it like how are businesses thinking about like, of course, like I do know now from your perspective, like being an MVP yourself, like, I think you've been in Microsoft environment for a very long time now, and you've used a lot of their products, and now Copilot being one of the core thing, right? So did you have any experience from a business perspective? Customers are telling you that, hey, we've started using this Copilot for like so and so processes, and like, we are able to save so much time, or like we are able to get good return on investment, things like that. Did you have any experience of that nature?
Yeah, I see lots of more companies that are going fully in.
Mm-hmm.
So I see in the beginning some customers that just started with a few licenses and then they grow,
Mm-hmm.
finding out what kind of scenarios are there in the organization, what is the ROI. There is like a business case builder that you can see, okay, this is how I can use Copilot and what is the ROI for what kind of persons. But I believe it's not only like the data that Microsoft is give you in their dashboard. I believe it's also the human part and asking them
Mm-hmm.
how they really enjoying it and do they use it on the right way. But it's good to have some dashboard from Microsoft that tells you saying, okay, there are so many meetings in your organization and this kind of teams of this kind of persons use it for transcription
Mm-hmm.
or this kind of people are using it a lot in Outlook, but they
Mm-hmm.
don't use it in PowerPoint, for example. Then you can train them and help them to use it on the right way. And I think it's also really nice to have like coaching sessions, mentor sessions to think about what is the ROI of that company and how can we actually go in there by the people who are need to use it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a combination of that, I think. So what are the things that we want to solve? And the ROI we can measure by having the data from Microsoft and the data from the people itself, asking if they're using it on the right way. And then at the end, you can say, okay, this is a success or this isn't a success. But I also see companies who are going fully in now because
Mm-hmm.
they see how the market is changing. So
Mm-hmm.
the market is changing a lot now when people say, okay, our competitor is going really fast with AI. They are going all in. We need don't need to have a lack of that
Mm-mm.
by yeah, by our people who are not doing that at this moment. So I think it's really nice to see that that companies now really going to invest. That they were more in the beginning of finding out what it is, and in the beginning, sometimes the feeling had, okay, is this it? Is this the right ROI? And that we see now companies are saying, okay, yes, we believe in this. New things are coming in,
Mm-mm.
and one of the things is actually, I think that is really nice, and it's again a feature in Copilot. But I don't know if you're already finding it, already using it. But it's, for example, like the researcher and the analyst agent. It's in Microsoft 365 Copilot, and you can use that out of the box agents.
Yeah.
I think it's really good. It's really good. Um, and I think it's so way different than Microsoft 365 Copilot, for example, where you
Mm-mm.
have your chat version. And yeah, I think that kind of things will help as well to rethink your ROI and rethink about your way of working. So it's not something that you put on finding out by yourself. I think you have someone needed to tell you this is what you can do, this is the best for your role, for your industry as well. I
Mm-mm.
think your industry is as well. And then uh, go yeah, moving forward.
Yeah, understood. Got it. I mean, like, yeah. So if businesses exactly know to how to, completely extract as much value out of, using this Copilot, I think $30 per user per month, I think that's going to be justifiable because given the number of or the, profit or the revenue that the company is making, like, of course, going to invest a little more. Is going to be like really, and like provided, the only thing as you mentioned is provided. So when we give an employee Copilot access, right, it is not that they can just use it in their Outlook. It could be used in Teams, SharePoint. I mean, I can just go on and on, like, because it's like completely tightly integrated with this Microsoft 365 environment. I can just go on and on. So I think that is where,
Yeah, and I true, and I think some people even don't need a Copilot licensing, but they still can use Copilot, right?
very
It's
true.
so that you have as well the free version
Exactly.
there, and I think some roles don't really need a licensing and don't need all the kind of applications.
Very true.
But yes,
I mean, yeah.
you need to have some workarounds or
Exactly.
yeah,
I think, so obviously businesses who are using Microsoft on the whole in the environment, right? Like they have a paid plan. So Copilot comes in attached with that, right? They don't have to have that. The biggest advantage is that, the free version also has the, enterprise data protection with them. That's the
true.
huge thing. I mean, like every businesses do think that even today, a few businesses are a bit worried about using ChatGPT free version or Claude free version because they think that, model is going to use our own data for training. But I think
Yeah,
that's been completely, disabled when it comes to, Copilot, even with the free version,
Copilot.
which comes with your actual, business paid plan with Microsoft 365. So that's an amazing one.
True. Yeah, I think that's amazing. And a lot of people started finding out that in the beginning. And when they use it now again, they will see that it's really evolved in the last months.
Yeah.
It's really getting.
Yes, I think now with the release of custom instructions and memory being given, that's another whole lot of thing as well. We can just
True.
go on and on. So yeah, next is coming to this models on the whole. Like I mean, like we have you take any LLM model. Like every day you wake up to LinkedIn, you check your feed, there'll be a new model. People telling that there's a new model going on, and like I can just go on and on.
Yeah.
What do you think about the scenario when it comes to models in Copilot? Because from the very beginning, we knew that OpenAI and Microsoft were sort of the strategic partner. They were entire cloud providers for OpenAI. There's a lot of things, and in between, I think there's a lot of back and forth conversations. Like there's been a disturbances, I would say, between those two. So
Yeah.
now,
If it's going to be the work in ChatGPT or is it
yeah,
going to
I
be
know.
work
I wouldn't.
in
Yeah, so
Copilot?
my exactly. So my thing is, I think even Microsoft they have released, I think, mini models like like sort of the small language model SLMs. I couldn't remember the exact name of the SLM models that they released, but still I could see. majority, like be it Copilot Studio, even in that, their default model is GPT-4o, right? So what do you think about this? Like, is it going to continue? Like, is Microsoft is going to continue using OpenAI's model, which is being built on top of this Copilot and all those things, or are they going to, build their own model? Like, do you have any idea on that?
I, I this is not official or something like that. It's more my opinion or
Okay,
how I think
okay.
that's what will go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you can choose later on what kind of model you want to use, so
Mm-hmm.
that you can choose what kind of model you want after Copilot, because it's your UI for AI.
Yes,
I think Copilot will evolve in the upcoming time that it's your starting point. I think already happening, right? If you go to office.com, you start with Copilot. If you go to, you open your Word, Copilot is there everywhere. You cannot see Copilot anymore. It's
exactly, exactly.
everywhere. So I think from technical perspective and talking about what kind of model, I believe that there will be more models in the future that you can choose.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I think probably that is the only place I think still Microsoft lacks is what I think. Okay, because now I know like Microsoft has done a very good job in integrating Copilot with every business application which they have given. But the only problem again is that I do not have the ability to create a choose a model, because I love writing like I love Claude when it comes to writing part, because the way it writes, like I mean, that's a very good thing. Okay, so we can
yeah,
go about the debate about different models out there, but I think that's one thing. And another thing again, obviously, is that now that like I've started using Copilot Studio a while, like I started building agents in Copilot Studio. So what I really sort of still gets this lag is that when it comes to this overall agent, right, the brain of it, so that it still lies with this GPT-4o model. That's the one. But when it comes to individual steps, like if you want to use another AI model in between a step, right, there we can deploy a model that's, I mean, we can get a model that's been deployed in Azure AI Foundry. In Azure AI Foundry, you can deploy any model out there. So that's, I think, that's improving. But on the whole, the orchestration model that's been built, I think it still lies with GPT-4, and maybe that is where I still think that they can just give us more options to maybe choose Gemini or things, because I also have to think about the cost, right?
yeah,
I know the advantages of using Copilot Studio and things like that, right? So now I know they cost you per message, like per action, which is like 0.001 cents per message is what I think in when it comes to Copilot Studio, right? So I think that
sure.
is that they're doing in terms of OpenAI's API pricing, if I'm not wrong. I don't know exactly how do they price it, but I do think that that's how it is. But when it comes to Gemini models, I do think that their model is like sort of they have a very huge context window, one, and number two, their API pricing is cheaper when it compared to other models. So I think that is where when I have this flexibility, it would be much more efficient. What I think.
Yeah, I think that is something that I absolutely believe in as well, that need to be happen.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that yeah, I think we have the same opinion.
Exactly, exactly. So I think we just have to wait and watch, like how well are they going to
Yeah,
integrate with other platforms out there.
true, true.
Yeah,
But of course, Microsoft has a really nice spot with having the workplace with all the applications,
exactly.
and
The
so there is a lot of things
the
happening in the
biggest.
market right now between all these kind of
Mm-mm-mm-mm. But again,
big
Microsoft.
organizations, I think.
Yes, again, like as you
Mm.
mentioned, Microsoft biggest advantages is they already have this distribution in hand. They already have a lot of products and people are using it, and like everybody love using Microsoft as an environment. Like even I have my friend who's working in an IT company, right? Like even their entire IT company, they use Microsoft as their workspace for email,
Yeah,
for Teams, and like all those things, right? So they already have this distribution. The only thing is they'd have to sort of bring things together and give us more flexibility and choosing what we really want to use instead of sticking to
you
one
know,
model.
yeah, I think so. And one of the things that I think that's going to happen now in the upcoming like months is
Mm-mm-mm.
that I think you get more like agents or solutions, or um, don't talking about like the LLM that's behind it, but I think we're going to see more solutions in an industry. So out of the
Mm-mm.
box
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
agents for
Exactly.
healthcare. out of the box agents for where already is like a combination with like healthcare systems that they already has an out of the box solution there. There are so many partners, including ourselves, who say, okay, we have a lot of customers in this kind of area, or we have a lot of customers in this kind of industry. This is the
Mm-mm-mm.
problem. Let's bring it all together and create some solutions for that kind of industry and bring it to the market together with
Market.
Microsoft.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that
And I
that is
think
gonna
that's
be
the
is
thing huge in the upcoming time that we're going to see which kind of like products are going to get what kind of markets. I think that's
yes, understood. Got it.
interesting.
Yeah. So now moving on to that, I think my next favorite platform is going to be obviously Copilot Studio because I know I've slowly, like I've started pitching to clients for using, Copilot Studio to build their AI agents. Okay. Now, what do you think? Like, do you have and perspective, at least if not experience, but at least a perspective on, like, the agentic capabilities, and like how do you differentiate Copilot Studio with other AI agent platforms? Like, meaning I'm not talking about the actual frameworks out there, I'm talking about this low code slash no code methods, right? Like, we have a lot of other platforms in the market already, like we have
Yeah,
Zapier, we have N8N, like we have a lot of these. And now again we have Copilot Studio, and like I think people have started understanding the, the capabilities of Copilot Studio and have started using it. So, like, what do you think about like the difference between these two?
yeah. The difference between like MD5 Copilot and Copilot Studio is huge, right? That's the difference between like the processes, and that you're going more like, okay, this is we're going to build this for our team or for our company. When you think about Copilot Studio and different kind of not Microsoft
Yeah.
parties, I need to say, um, I think all of them have their capabilities or the thing that they're really unique in as
Mm-mm-mm.
well from some kind of way with what kind of solutions. But when I'm thinking about like Copilot Studio, it's a funny thing because I always hear people saying you can do it by yourself
Mm-mm-mm.
and you can make it by yourself and it's low code. But then I come back with thinking about like making power apps and that kind of ways, and also people not really can make it by themselves. In the end, there are always things that you think about. Okay, this is not what I need some help to get this done. So I think Copilot Studio is low code, and I think everyone can start with it, finding out how to start. Um, but in the end, you will need someone to make it to next steps
Very true.
with some really, yeah, I don't know if I can say, but it's, yeah.
I mean,
Um, so, yeah, so my advice, and I don't really, yes, I'm finding out some new AI solutions outside of Microsoft, and of course I see that as well, but I'm not really putting that in my work environment. So I have
mm-mm-mm.
only the opinion from Microsoft part and my work environment. But it's easy to make a first step, but when you
Mm-mm.
go to automate and when you have like a third party introduction to bring it all together, I think that's where the magic really happens. But when it's also you need some help to get this really on the right way.
Mm-mm-mm.
Um, as an organization, of course, you need to have some organizations have a lot of uh, like capabilities in their own organization that they can do this. But um, so I think it's not really yeah, it's something that I can really good at answer because I can
Mm-mm. Understood.
really out of the Microsoft platform. But yeah, I believe that we like everything that we do that we can use an agent for, or that we can automate a lot of things that we do in our way of working as well with a team or in the organization. And I believe that Copilot Studio is the right platform there to build it. But
Mm-mm-mm.
I also see that not everything is working as I want to say
Yeah.
that it's
I mean,
working
that
in
is
the
true. That
way.
That always happens with every platform out there. So even like, I mean, you take other platforms out there, like it is not that one platform is gonna solve everything, right? Like we'll have to obviously switch between, and then you have to check, like, it's like I would say rather than thinking about the brand and the owner, like all those things, we have to check like, which platform is actually gonna solve your business process. It's like as simple as that. And then next would be
Sure.
obviously the
Yeah.
cost. But again, the primary reason is going to be like, is Copilot Studio or is N8N or is Zapier is going to solve your, your particular use case for your business. If that's yes, then obviously you can just go ahead and start using it instead of, thinking about should I go with Copilot Studio or should I go with Zapier? Like just, having those confusions.
Yeah, of course. And I think it's good as an organization to think about, okay, what is the thing that we really support? Where do we
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
want to put everything in? So have the good integration as well. And that's,
Yeah, very true.
uh,
Very true.
yeah,
Yeah. So next, I think we have sort of, coming to the end of our sessions. Okay. Uh, I've been thinking a lot about this trainings and, yeah, especially like I would say a training. Okay. In fact, like I'm working behind the scenes, like I'm trying to have my own training for this using Copilot or like, other AI things out there. Okay. So what do you like, how, I wanted to know from your perspective now that you have, talked with a lot of customers, like you are also doing this lot of trainings, like I've seen you giving a lot of talks as well. Like, what do you think about this training? Like, how much training is actually required for businesses to get AI into their organization? Not just Copilot, but on the whole, like AI. And maybe you can also touch upon like how Copilot specifically is required in terms of, training. Like, how much business is needing the trainings.
yeah. I think a lot of people say, okay, we just need a training for an hour or 2 hours. That's what everyone wants.
Mm-mm-mm.
But I don't believe that. I think this is something that don't stop anymore because
Mm-mm-mm.
everything is changing so fast. Is that it's something that we still need to continue or to be ahead of and knowing what's there.
Mm-mm.
So that's one. And the other thing is, I think we talked about it some earlier that it's like a habit that you need to change. So we have people who are actually don't started with using Copilot and need to start an introduction, but we have also people who are building their own agents and need to find out their what their next steps are. So in between, there is a lot of space as well by
Mm-mm.
learning by doing. I believe in a supported system that you have like a group of people who are in the front of and sharing their best practices and that you can help each other. I believe in that, like a community idea where people can help each other there. And I also believe when you have like personas or different kind of roles and different kind of industries that you
Mm-mm.
bring that together so you can learn from each other. That goes way faster than you need to find it out by yourself. Um, and maybe one good thing is think about asking Copilot. You can learn as well. Because Copilot has now memory. It's
Yeah.
also the understands how you work, for example. So you have your office environment. He knows what kind it knows what kind of emails you're sending, how your
Mm-mm.
communication style is. So literally you can make like learning paths there as well, asking Copilot what are your next steps. Um, so that, and I think of course you're yeah, the time is yeah is something that I really don't cannot say that much, but I think it's
Mm-mm.
good to have like finding some communities like creators, finding some communities around it, like Rockstar Women in AI or Team Copilot, or like
Yeah.
people who are really passionate about using it. I think that
Mm-mm.
will help everyone just by opening social media and seeing, oh, I didn't know that. Thanks. This is what I also can have. Or I think there are so many people like MVPs who are sharing all the great and funny, nice
Yes.
new stuff that's coming out, and they have an opinion not only about that is always good, they have an
Mm-mm.
opinion as well what it helps there or the customer, what's working well, what's not working well. So I think
Yeah.
that's really nice to find this kind of people, so you can learn from them.
Mm-mm. Understood. Got it. Sure. So I think we've sort of come to the end of our session broadcast. Like, but final question. In fact, I'm working towards this, and I would love to have your perspective on the same. How to become a Microsoft MVP? Just put it in
Yeah,
your
good question.
yeah. Like, actually, currently I'm working on it. I've released like I'm planning to get my MVP in business application. I think that's the category that Copilot and Copilot Studio comes under, if I'm not
Cool.
mistaken, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So I've started contributing, like I think last Monday, I think this week Monday, if I'm not wrong, I released my first blog post on the recent agent that I built in Copilot Studio. So I've heard that
nice.
you'd have to have 24 contribution, things like that. Again, like I'm not, I do not know exactly. I just working on it. So would love to hear from the MVP person itself.
Oh, nice. What you need to think about is don't make it like your biggest ambition. I did that. I really wanted to be an MVP, and at
that's
last, when
that's a
I let
good
that go, it
that's a good
happened.
advice, I would say.
Yeah, but finding the things that you really like and passionate about and going to share that. For example, your podcast, what you're doing now with
Mm-mm,
passion and with some
mm-mm,
energy, that's
mm-mm.
really helping. So doing that kind of things, don't go do more, more, more. I did that. I wanted to upload every day a blog post, and I make my really self really crazy so that everyone sees what I did and that I get that it didn't get it with that. So it's more like the passion that you really put in from something that you really like. I think that's the magic when it's happening. The other thing is they watch your contributions from the last year. So you need to put in
Mm-mm-mm.
all your contributions, and you need to be nominated by an MVP
Yeah,
or someone from Microsoft. Um, and then they have like 90 days to see your contributions
contribution.
and look into that. So yeah, that's a really bit how it's working. What the other thing is, a lot of people focusing on content,
Mm-mm,
but it's as well really nice thinking about building relationships.
mm-mm.
So we know each other now
Yeah,
and helping.
exactly.
But that's also uh, what I give as an advice. People really need to know you, and you need to be visible, right? You can create really nice content, but no one sees it. Then it's also like, yeah, it's it's harder to get an MVP. I think it's a
Yeah.
combination of being visible, being present, giving your opinion, and as well having the knowledge around a specific product.
Mm-mm. Got it. Understood. I think, yeah, I mean, like I just watched like one video where they talked about all those things, but still I just wanted to have this. Again, today my focus is not on becoming an MVP. Like I wanted to specifically get, deep into Copilot, and
If
that's what we've
someone
been.
wants to, yeah.
Yeah. Again, like someone was even in the future, like of course, now that we've built this relationship, of course, I think I can give you a text asking you to nominate me after 6, 7 months or something after I've worked on that. Probably I think that's gonna help me out. So I just wanted to get your answer
Yeah,
on
and
that as well.
yeah, and if someone's listening and want to do something, just find out what your thing is, like podcasting or making a website or creating, I don't know, videos. But
Mm-mm.
finding out what's your passion and don't do everything, but thinking about what you are like, where you're good in and where you can grow. Um, I think that's my best advice on
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Understood. Got it. So I think with that we've come to the end. So it was really a great session. I would say again, just to let all my audience know that. So this is I think Femka is gonna be my first guest. Who is my first guest? I would say where we talked a lot about Microsoft on the whole, like Copilot stuff. Again, recently there's been a lot of stuff going on with this Copilot, and so the first guest. It was like really good talking to you. Got a lot of insights. So is there anything else that you would
Thank
like
you.
to add?
No, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, looking forward to see it everywhere online.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be posting, and to all the audience, like who are watching till now, I'm really thank you so much for that. I would be listing out all some case like profile or books, like all the description would be in my I mean all the links would be in my description, so you can just have a look at it, and you can just follow her. Like again, she's like very approachable, is what I would say. maybe because she's completely held up, you're gonna get a little bit, replay is gonna be a little bit late. But again, that's purely because she's completely held up with work. But again, though she's completely busy, I'm happy that you've taken the day out of your time. I mean, time out of your day,
You're welcome.
and then giving me the time to be on this podcast here. So really, thank you so much for that. And with that, so thank you guys. Hope I'll meet you in my next podcast.